There are people who refuse to believe that the true descendants of Israel, Hebrew Semites, are black. Many of them don't even read the scriptures, yet they'll boldly tell you you're wrong. They cling to a carefully crafted lie built centuries ago and passed down as truth. They'll mock you, quote half a verse, just enough to defend a story they've never truly examined. But have they ever stopped to seek the Most High? Have they humbled themselves in prayer and asked the Father for revelation before confidently saying, "No, that's impossible"? Psalms 83 warned us. It speaks of nations conspiring together to erase the memory of Israel from the earth. And how did that begin? Through colonization, through oppression, through the deliberate rewriting of history led by powers like the Catholic Church. Now let me ask you something deeper. How many nations are unsure of where they come from? Do the Chinese question their origin? Do the Italians, the Germans, the Spanish? Most can trace their lineage for hundreds, even thousands of years. But what about you? Do you know where your family truly comes from? Beyond the city or state you were born in? Beyond the vague label they gave you? Africa? Without a DNA test, can you name the land, the tribe, the language of your ancestors? We're told to celebrate Black History Month. But does your mind go beyond the same recycled stories of struggle in the West? Beyond slavery? Beyond Jim Crow? Why is it only one people scattered across the globe who cannot clearly trace their origins? Why is it that our history always starts in chains? And here's something even more curious. In parts of the Middle East, it's against the law to take a DNA test. Why? What are they afraid will be revealed? Why are some in the Middle East tracing their identity back to European bloodlines while hiding the truth about who the real Israelites are? Could it be that Psalms 83 wasn't just poetry, but prophecy? Could it be that you are part of the very people they swore to erase? If that makes you uncomfortable, good, because the Father wants you to seek Him, not man, to ask Him for the truth they hid, to read what they never wanted you to see. Let's get into it. To decolonize the scriptures, we must first ask, who colonized them and why? In the early centuries after Yeshua walked the earth, the faith of the Hebrews was hijacked by Roman and Greek minds. Men like Marcion, a wealthy European theologian, looked at the Hebrew scriptures and decided they were too Hebraic, too deeply tied to the true Hebrews. So he rejected them completely. Yes, he threw out the entire Old Testament. And worse, he removed writings that tied Yeshua to the covenant people of Israel. Then came the councils, men of religion, not prophets of Yah. The Council of Nicaea, the Council of Laodicea. They debated which books should remain and which should burn. They replaced the Hebrew worldview with a Greco-Roman one. They divided the Bible into Old and New, a division the Most High never commanded. So ask yourself, did the Most High ever tell men to split His word? Did He command pastors to preach the new and neglect the Torah and the prophets? Or was that the choice of men hungry for control? Before the colonizers ever touched the Bible, Yeshua gave a warning. Mark 13, verses 14 through 18. When you see the abomination of desolation standing where it should not, flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down, and pray that your flight is not in winter. And they fled. When Rome destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD, thousands of Hebrews escaped deeper into Africa, just as he said. They fled from the east into the northern, western, and southern regions of the African continent, carrying fragments of their language, their scrolls, their memory. But prophecy didn't end there. Even after fleeing, they were hunted again. Because centuries later, in Portugal, 1497, the Catholic king issued a decree. King Manuel, under pressure from the Catholic Church and marriage alliances with Spain, made a decision that would scar generations. With one stroke of a pen, he condemned thousands. All Hebrew children, ages 4 to 14, were taken from their parents, forcefully baptized, effaced from history, no trial, no mercy, no choice. Parents clung to their children as soldiers tore them away. Mothers screamed as babies were dragged towards baptismal font. Some mothers chose the unthinkable, ending their children's lives in their own arms rather than see them baptized beneath cold steel. It was not salvation. It was obliteration and intentional silencing of a people's identity, recorded by Rudolph Windsor in From Babylon to Timbuktu. And it was exactly what Yah foretold in Deuteronomy 28, verse 25. The Lord shall cause you to be struck before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and you shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. From North and East Africa, many Hebrews moved further inland into the westernmost regions of Africa, lands later raided for the transatlantic slave trade. They carried what they could, their Torah scrolls, their names, their customs. But even there, colonizers came. So ask yourself, why did men who claim to serve the Most High baptize children with a blade to their throats? Why erase an entire people's name and heritage in the name of faith? And if this was truly Yah, why does it look so much like prophecy fulfilled, but from the wrong side of history? This was never about faith. It was about control of history, control of identity, control of the word itself. Portugal was only the beginning. After they silenced the children, they turned to the scriptures themselves, dividing, editing, reshaping the word of Yah into their own image. So why did European powers and the Pope force a perverted form of Christianity on Black people? Was it truly about saving souls, or was it about control? Didn't the Most High give free will to submit to Him? Yet centuries before it happened, He warned you in Deuteronomy 28, verses 36 and 64. There you shall serve other gods, neither you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone. The wooden cross of European Christianity has become an idolatrous symbol used to bless slave ships and justified forced conversions. And the black stone of Islam, the Kaaba, first forced on Hebrews through convert or die raids by Arab conquerors long before Europeans arrived. Even in Africa, they were made to bow to foreign gods, believing they would save them. The prophecy was clear. You would serve the gods of your oppressors, gods your fathers never knew. So when did worship become submission to foreign empires? When did faith become a weapon used against you? And how much of what we call religion today is really the faith of our ancestors or the faith of those who enslaved them? This was never just about religion. It was about domination. Domination of land, domination of culture, domination of the mind. But it didn't stop there. They even changed the map itself, so you'd forget where the story truly began. The lands of the Bible, Cush, what we now call Ethiopia and Sudan, Mizraim, what you know as Egypt, Ophir, linked to gold stretching into southern Africa and Arabia. But later, maps renamed it all. They created a new term, the Middle East, a name that never existed in biblical times, a name designed to disconnect the scriptures from Africa and its people. They redrew the borders and renamed ancient lands, so you'd believe the Hebrews lived closer to Europe than to Africa, and that the people of the book looked like them, not you. So if they changed the map of your past, what else did they rewrite? We'll uncover how those same lies moved from maps into history books and even into the Bible they handed you. Before the transatlantic slave trade, Hebrews were already hunted in Europe. They lived in Spain, Portugal, southern France. They were scholars, merchants, farmers. But when Catholic kings rose to power in the 6th and 7th centuries, a new decree went out. Every Hebrew, man, woman, and child, was ordered to be baptized into Catholicism. Those who refused lost everything: land, wealth, even their lives. We were partially taught about this. It was called the Spanish Inquisition. 90,000 were dragged into churches. Water poured over their heads as soldiers held blades to their throats. And those who resisted were killed. From North Africa, many Hebrews moved deeper inland into the western regions of Africa, lands later raided for the transatlantic slave trade. Some became Berbers, fierce warriors, and resisted Arab invasions. They fought for their land, for their people, for survival. A Hebrew queen named Daya Kahina rose among them. She gathered tribes, built an army, and for a moment, she pushed the invaders back. North Africa rejoiced, but jealousy between tribes betrayed her. She fell. Her son converted to Islam, and the Hebrews scattered again. Deuteronomy 28 again. You shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And so they were. And it was there, in the heart of West Africa, that their descendants were taken, loaded onto ships, scattered once more, this time across the ocean. Centuries later, in the Americas, the plan to control your mind continued. They handed out Bibles with entire books removed. Exodus gone because the story of deliverance might inspire rebellion. Psalms 137 removed because it spoke of vengeance against oppressors. Blessed is the one who repays you, who seizes your children and dashes them against the rocks. Too dangerous, too honest. The revelation censored because it promised the fall of empires, and the slave masters were the empire. It was called the Slave Bible. 90% of the Old Testament erased, half the New stripped away. What remained were carefully chosen verses on obedience and submission, designed to keep you docile, to make you believe Yah approved your chains. Ask yourself, if they truly wanted you to know Yah, why censor His word? If the Bible was only about salvation, why remove the parts about freedom, about justice, and more importantly, if the Slave Bible was so altered to control the enslaved, how much of the Bible you hold today has been filtered through the same hands? Let's examine how even salvation itself was reshaped and how the image of the Messiah was replaced. Even after slavery ended, the chains didn't vanish. They simply changed form. Jim Crow laws kept you segregated. Different schools, buses, water fountains. Different, but never equal. Freedom was an illusion. And even as the leaders rose to fight back, some, though sincere, were steered by the same powers that once held the chains. They preached a softer gospel, one that pacified the people instead of restoring their identity. You were told to forgive, but not to remember. Told to love your neighbor, but not to love yourself enough to ask who you truly are. They gave you freedom with one hand and controlled your mind with the other. So ask yourself, if slavery ended, yet you remained segregated, controlled, and only taught what they allowed, did the system really change? Or did it simply evolve? And then they went even further, twisting the very faith meant to free you into a weapon to keep you bound. So how do you begin to decolonize the scriptures? How do you strip away the lies layered on top of truth? First, read it for yourself, not just the parts they canonized. Read the whole word. Read what they buried. Secondly, study the books they removed. Enoch, Jubilees, Baruch, Jasher. They fill in the gaps they never wanted you to see. Third, go beyond translations. Use a Strong's Concordance. Look at the Hebrew. Look at the Greek. Fourth, study the maps. Cush is Ethiopia, and Ethiopia was a name for the entire continent. The lands of the Bible were in Africa. Compare what Yah wrote with what colonizers renamed. And most importantly, pray. Seek Yah for yourself. Ask Him to reveal what men have hidden, because without His Spirit, even the right books can't give you the right understanding. Stop letting colonizers tell you how to read Yah's word. Stop letting former oppressors shape the mindset of the once bound. Take it back, because it was always yours. If you're ready to go deeper and build the spiritual foundation they've never wanted you to have, I want to share a resource to guide you. It's called Demystifying Spiritual Maturity. This book helps you grow, not in the faith taught by colonizers, but in the true relationship with Yah that was always yours. It's not about religion. It's about renewal, about walking the path of spiritual maturity without the filters of tradition or manipulation. You'll learn how to sharpen your discernment, Break free from the lies that have held you back and rebuild your walk with the Most High step by step. Because awakening is just the first step. You also need the tools to stay rooted in truth. You can find the link in the description below. They erased your name, your books, your map, but they could never erase His promise. Even in the land of your captivity, you are remembering yourself. So the question is, will you stay colonized or return to the Father who never forgot you? Read the whole Word, old and new. Read the books they tried to forbid, because the truth was never lost, only hidden. You've seen how they colonized the scriptures, how they erased names, shifted maps, rewrote history. But the greatest colonization wasn't on the page. It was in the mind. Because if you can control a person's thoughts, you don't need their chains. They'll carry the chains themselves. How do you break free from invisible chains? How do you escape a prison you've been taught to love? We decolonize the mind. Peace and blessings.